this is Laura and Arnie with Crazy Cool Cakes.
And thanks for being with us again.
We're back with our next Cake Biz video in our series, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that a lot of you have questions on. So we're really excited to be discussing today deposits, cancellations, balances, and everything that has to do with all of those things, because I know that this is an area that a lot of us struggle in. Sometimes we don't know what to do, so we're just going to offer our best practices, our best tips, our best advice for you on how to deal with everything that has to do with this specific topic.
Fantastic,
so we're going to start like we always do by reading some comments, and then of course we'll get into the questions and answer them as best we possibly can. So this first one is from J Chan.
Hi J Chan. It's like my kinfolk again.
And J Chan says, you guys are a blessing. I thank God for you too. Thank you so much. That's very, very sweet of you. You have helped me realize that my cakes are worth more and I should honor my work. Thank you. You're very welcome, J Chan. And just like this comment, we get lots and lots of comments from people saying that, you know, their courage is going
coming
up.
Out, right?
Yeah, their confidence is growing. And right there, that to me makes it all worth it. That's awesome. So thank you, J Chan. So this next comment is from Ariel Lamontong.
Hi, Ariel.
And she says or asks, do you usually require a deposit, especially when it's a new client or a large order? So to answer the question, we always require a deposit. Yeah, yes and yes. And she says, especially when it's a new client, anyone, it doesn't matter whether it's a new client, whether it's an old client, we always require a deposit. Always, not usually, always. Okay?
Say it with us.
Always. And what I always say is, if you don't have a deposit, there is no order. The order is not placed. The order does not exist until you have received money from the client. So thank you for your question, Ariel, and we'll get more into the specifics here in just a little bit. This next question is from Gina Williams.
Hi, Gina.
And she says, we are from Kansas City and really have been learning a lot from you guys. That's awesome, Gina. My husband and I work together as well.
Awesome.
Hubby and wife team. That's cool. We just started to charge what we are worth. It was hard, but we are sticking to our guns. Good for you. So thank you guys for the encouragement. You're very, very welcome, Don and Gina. So here's her actual question. She says, my question is, should we ask for deposits before we commit to making the cake? Thanks again for all your help, Don and Gina from Junkies. You're very, very welcome. So should you ask for a deposit before you commit to the order? Definitely. That's a very, very dangerous thing to do, guys, is to commit to doing a cake without ever having received any money whatsoever. So yes, Gina, definitely you must require a deposit or else there is no commitment. The deposit shows you the commitment of the client ordering from you. So thank you for your question, Gina, and again, we'll get more into specifics here in a little bit. This next awesome comment is from Stacy E.
Hi, Stacy.
And she says, oh my goodness, I feel so blessed to have y'all's videos and that you guys are so openly sharing with us. Thank you. You're very, very welcome, Stacy. I was wondering if I should ask for a payment in full or a deposit before I make the cake. Again,
great question,
yes, it's a really, really good question.
Everybody's along the same line there.
And the reason I'm saying it's a good question is because I had the same question when I first started.
Sure.
And you weren't with me, you know, when I started making cakes, but I did the same thing that a lot of these cake artists are doing. I used to do cakes without even receiving a single cent.
Ooh, scary.
Without receiving a single deposit, and you know, I was very, very gullible.
That's a lot of trust.
And that's what I was about to say. I was very gullible and I was very trusting. And you know, sometimes it'd be time to deliver the cake, people wouldn't even answer the telephone. So I'd be stuck with a cake that I had worked on for so long. Definitely you need to ask for a deposit or full payment. Okay, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But here's what got me. She says, I feel like I'm pulling teeth when I ask for a 10% deposit. But I'm worried that if I don't, I might get stiffed with the bill. So I don't know if I'm doing it right or not.
That's a good question.
Okay, so totally okay.
We're gonna help you with that.
Stacy, that you don't know. And I actually did answer her comment, but what I did tell her is, okay, first of all, gotta get a deposit. Have to get a deposit. But 10%, I told her, is not nearly enough. I mean, if the cake is just a $200 order, 10% is what?
$20.
$20 isn't gonna cover anything at all, okay? So we'll talk about the purpose of the deposit
And
here.
that really doesn't show any commitment from them either.
Not at all. So what I told her is, if you feel like you are pulling teeth just trying to get a 10% deposit out of someone, then that tells you right there that they're really not serious about ordering. That the cake itself is not even important to them. You should never feel like you're forcing someone or trying to convince them or trying to get them to pay you.
Or what's the word? Hook them?
Hook them. A person that is the right client, that is ready to commit and really wants to order a nice custom-made cake, like the kind of cakes that you all make, like the kind of cakes that we make.
Hello.
They are more than happy to pay the deposit.
And you can tell the conversation's just a flow.
And again, and that's a great thing that you
Thank you.
brought that up, because in the previous video, we talked about being able to recognize right away in the first couple of minutes during a telephone call whether or not a person is serious about becoming your client.
That's right.
You know, I don't know if I've said it before in videos
You
or
probably
not,
have.
but I have mentioned it to many cake artists, especially the ones in my cake pricing webinar, which, by the way, we're still registering for the June 25th cake pricing webinar for those of you that need individual one-on-one help. You can find the link to it underneath the video. But what I always say to them is that when you are speaking to a client, look at it as you interviewing them.
That's right.
To see if they qualify to become your client.
You did mention that before, but that's good.
Okay, so when you're talking to a client, guys, don't feel as if like, I hope they order from me, or I hope I get the order. I got a comment on Instagram, you know, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I get the order. No. Remember, guys, you choose your clients. Just because someone is coming to you does not mean that you have to do the order. It doesn't mean you have to do the cake. You choose your clients wisely. And if you're pulling teeth just to get a 10% deposit, as soon as you feel that struggle beginning with the client, what do we say? Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I mean, at that point, when you feel that struggle, right? That little tug of war starting, that's a huge flag waving in your face telling you that is not your client.
That's right.
A person that is the right client is someone that orders quickly. Somebody that wants something custom made, that wants good quality.
And they're committed.
Right. So definitely don't even bother asking for a 10% deposit. We need to be asking for at least 50% or the full payment, depending on whether or not the amount meets your minimum. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about.
Exactly.
So again, guys, the whole point of these videos, yes, let's learn how to charge for our work correctly. Let's learn how to deal with clients. But what we're trying to teach everybody is how to have a peaceful and stress-free cake business.
Relax.
You know, you have to enjoy what you do. Enjoy dealing with your clients, the ones that you choose. If you're constantly struggling and chasing people and, you know, feeling like you're in a tug of war with your clients, they're not your clients. It's better for you just to pass on those people.
Move on.
Move on. So I hope that helps, Stacy. Thank you for your question. This next awesome comment is from Jeanette Becker.
Hi, Jeanette.
And she says, I have a lot of questions about the payment. I've had the experience that my customers, mostly co-workers, I have a normal day job, they pay much later than they receive the cake. And sometimes I need to chase them to receive the money.
Wow, playing tag.
Playing tag. Apparently they think, oh, we're colleagues, she can wait.
Wow.
But no, I was thinking about taking deposits from them in the future because I'm done chasing my money. Do you have tips with how to avoid that? And yes, we do, Jeanette. And you basically just gave yourself the tip, which is make sure that you always require a deposit, whether they are co-workers, friends, family. For those of you that missed the video where we deal with friends and family, that's a really good video to watch, especially if you're, you know, having those kind of weird, awkward situations.
And I'm thinking that they think that, well, you know when we get paid, so that's when you get your money.
Yeah. So it has nothing to do with how close you are to them, how often you see them.
Right.
A client is a client. It doesn't matter who it is, and you need to require a deposit. So she says here, apparently they think, oh, we're colleagues, she can wait. So my question would kind of be like, why is it that they think that way?
Yeah.
I mean, who has allowed them to think that it's okay?
Who trained them?
To think that way? Who trained them? Right.
Not on the job, but
not on the job, yeah. But you know, Jeanette, and I know that you probably allowed it, you know, without realizing that you were creating this monster.
Yeah.
But that's why it's so important, guys, to put your foot down from the very, very beginning. If people, you know,
they will respect that.
Yeah, they do respect it. And you have to be very, very clear when you're talking to a person about a cake. You have to tell them, this is the way that I do things. If you want to order from me, I need a deposit at this time. This is how much I'm going to need. And I'm going to expect the balance on this date. And if they're kind of iffy about it, or you're not 100% certain that they got it, then don't even bother doing the cake. So that's my suggestion to you, is make sure you always require a deposit no matter who it is. And she mentioned that she feels like she's chasing her money. We don't ever chase money, guys. We don't chase after clients, okay? Everything has to be done in a timely manner, which is why it's so important to establish your policies. You're the one that calls the shots. You choose your clients, and if a person wants to become your client, they have to follow your policies.
Good.
Dun dun.
Dun dun.
I mean, that's just the way it be. All right, Jenna, so thank you so much for your question, and I hope that helps. And again, it all comes down to growing your confidence. Check out the link under the video on how to grow your confidence. How to grow your business by growing your confidence. And if we grow our confidence, then it's easier to stick to our policies.
Absolutely.
It's easier
just
to put our
flows,
foot
actually.
down.
Yeah.
It's easier to put our foot down. Before we go any further in the comments, let's go ahead and talk about these things. Let's talk about deposits, and let's talk about balances.
Let's go ahead and tackle it.
And when do we receive those things? When do we require those things? So we're just going to tell you what we do, okay? Remember,
and what works.
And what works for us. Each individual cake artist, of course, has the right to create their own policies, their own minimum amounts, their own whatever you guys want. Remember,
or they can copy us.
Or you feel free to do it the way that we do it, because we know that the way we do it, it works for us.
And it doesn't matter where you live.
It doesn't matter where you live. So you guys go ahead and listen to the way that we do things, and then you decide whether you think that'll work for you, and feel free to try it. Okay, remember, there's no 100% perfect way to do it. It's different for everyone. It all comes down to, are my policies going to create a stress-free and peaceful and profitable business for me? It's all about not wasting your time.
Wow.
Okay, so we've already talked to the client, and the order has been established, and I've already provided them with a quote, and they tell me, okay, let's go for it. Let's go ahead and do it. I tell the client, okay, to go ahead and book your order, I need at least a 1/2 deposit. Now, this is why it's important to make sure that you have a minimum order. So for us, if the cake order is $300 or less, we require our clients to pay for the full amount up front. You all are more than welcome to decide what baseline you want to have your clients either pay the full amount or just pay you a 1/2 deposit. Now, if the order is $300 or more, then I require just a 1/2 deposit, and I require the balance of the cake to be paid 2 weeks prior to the date of the event. Let me tell you why we do it this way: because of past experiences. We learn from our mistakes. We learn from bad experiences. So I had it happen to me many, many times that I would not require the balance to be paid, and I had already made all of the decorations, purchased items, supplies, materials that I was going to need on that cake, and then I ended up losing money because they didn't want to pay the balance, or they canceled on me. So in order to avoid all of that mess that I've actually been through many, many times, we now require the balance to be paid 2 weeks prior to the date of the event. Now, if 2 weeks seems too long for you, you're more than welcome to choose a week, a few days, whatever. But if the balance is not paid, we do not deliver the cake. The balance must be completely paid. Now, a little while ago, somebody asked, you know, do you require deposits before how much? So if the order is a very large order, like for example, like a quinceañera, a wedding, a sweet 16, where now it starts leading up into the thousands, then of course I'm more than happy to work with a client. However, you know, we'll help them. I'm happy to break it up into thirds. No more than that. I don't do fourths, I don't do fifths. I'm not a layaway plan, okay? I'm not Walmart or Kmart or Target.
Kmart doesn't exist anymore.
No? It does. Don't we still have a Kmart here? no matter what the cost is, if it's over 1,000 or over 1,500, I offer them, if it's necessary, and they're welcome to take it or leave it. You know, sometimes we have people say, no, we'll go ahead and pay for the whole thing now, or I'll just do a 1/2 deposit. Because
the options are there.
Yeah, because when they're planning a big event too, they want to start checking things off of their list and getting things done as quickly as possible. Right clients do that. Okay, the wrong clients want to hold on to their money as long as possible, and they want to avoid paying. Again, talking about that struggle that we were talking about before. Like I said, if it's a very large order, I offer them the option. If you'd like, I can go ahead and take a 1/3 deposit now. The second third, we can pay it, you know, halfway between now and then, and the last payment will be paid 2 weeks prior to the date of the event. But very important, guys, you really need to think about, what do you feel is your minimum price?
Your threshold.
Your threshold, that's a great word.
Thank you.
Your threshold to where you want the full payment made.
Sometimes Smart Boy.
Sometimes Smart Boy. Used to be $250, now it's $300. So again, if it's less than $300 for us, we require the whole cake to be paid up front. I don't care if the cake is in 2 months or in 6 months or in a year. If it's less than $300, I require the full payment. If it's more than $300, then I'm more than happy to split it up into 2 payments. So I let them know, I need 1/2 deposit today, and then the balance will be paid 2 weeks prior to the date of the event. Now, real quick before we move on, let's talk about when should the deposit be paid. And you guys will also testify that a lot of times people call you asking you for quotes, wanting to order, but they don't have the money. So, you know, we always say, if they're not ready to order, why are they calling? You know, why are they asking for an invoice if they don't have the money? What I tell people is, you know, when you notice a little bit of hesitation, to make sure that I don't waste my time creating invoices and emailing all of this stuff, I just listen to the client, you know, and I can tell whether or not they're ready. And if there's a little bit of silence,
train your ear.
Train your ear, exactly. If there's a little bit of silence or a little bit of hesitation, I'll say, if you need to think about it for a day or two, that's fine. But just please keep in mind that I book 3 to 4 months in advance. And as soon as you're ready, just go ahead and call me, and we'll go ahead and take care of the deposit at that point. And if I don't hear from you again, just please keep us in mind in the future, because 99.9% of the time we don't hear from them again, and that's okay. Remember, like we said in a previous video, the phone here rings 30, 40, 50 times a day, and many days not a single one of those telephone calls turns into an order, and that's okay. Because that one client, that one good client, eventually comes along and makes up for all of those people that were not able to afford us.
And no lost time.
No lost time whatsoever.
Right.
So you need to make sure that when you do finally get the order, you've decided to commit to doing the cake for this person, that they are ready to take care of the deposit on that day. Now, if they're, you know, if it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday and they're totally honest with you and they say, well, I don't get paid until Friday, is that okay? Yes, of course. You know, we're more than welcome to wait a few days. We appreciate the honesty rather than just leaving us hanging and wondering, you know, why hasn't this person paid the invoice? And by the way, if my client or potential client does not pay for the invoice within a 24-hour period, I cancel it. Very important right before we get off the telephone, to make sure, again, that I'm not going to waste my time. I tell them, as soon as I get off the phone with you, I'm going to get on my computer and I'm going to create that invoice. Will you be able to check your email in about 10 to 15 minutes? Of course, they always say yes. And then I say, and will you be able to go ahead and take care of that as soon as you open up the email? And if the answer is not yes, then I don't even bother creating the invoice.
Right.
And I tell them, okay, what I'm going to do here is I'll keep all of the notes that we wrote down for your order. I'll keep the order here in paper form on my desk. When you're ready for the deposit, go ahead and call me back, and then at that point I'll send you the invoice. So that way I don't waste my time. And again, many times they never call back. Why? Because people like to save face. That's so funny, you know, when you're in this business, you learn a lot about people, people's personalities,
we could write a book.
Characters. We could write a book. And it's funny because some people go to great lengths just to save face, all because they're just embarrassed to say that they don't have the money. or they don't have the money at that time,
yeah.
which to me is ridiculous. I mean, why can't people just be honest? I mean, we know, trust me, we know that the cakes that we do are not cheap. They are costly. There's nothing wrong with people having to save money for a little bit of time to be able to order a nice custom cake.
Because it's important to them.
Yeah, there's no embarrassment in that. But anyways, people go to great lengths just to save face. I mean, as far as, okay, go ahead and send me the invoice, and they give me the address and the email and everything, and then nothing.
Crickets.
But again, guys, with time, with experience, you learn to pick up on those things, and we are still in the process of learning every day how not to waste time. We pick up new things, we hear new lies, new excuses, new situations.
And then we hear the same stuff too.
Yeah, and then mostly it's the same stuff over and over again. It's so funny because a lot of clients, they think they're the first ones that have thought of that excuse or that reason. You know,
they're like little kids.
So and so died, or some military people here in town. You know, remember the one guy that had to go on a secret mission over the weekend to Afghanistan, and he had no access to his phone.
But he was reading emails.
He was able to text me back, boom, 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 and then as soon as he gets on the airplane to Afghanistan, and right after I sent him the invoice, now all of a sudden he's on a secret mission. I mean, it's just, I mean.
And he was back in a week from Afghanistan.
We could do a full video on just all of the stories, the hilarious stories. Remember the high heel guy? The high heel shoe guy? Oh my Lord, guys. So very important, guys, okay, to make sure you require a 1/2 deposit to book the date. And then the balance, you decide. Do you want them to pay a day before you deliver or 2 weeks prior to, the way we do?
I like the 2 weeks.
A suggestion to you guys, because I've learned from experience, a lot of you receive the balance when you deliver the cake. My suggestion is that you make sure the balance is paid completely before the day of the event is even close. That way, because I've gotten so many comments and so many stories on Facebook, Instagram, and here on YouTube of people that had ordered a cake and they even paid a deposit, and they were supposed to meet the person for them to pick up the cake in a certain location, or they even gave them an address to deliver the cake, and nobody ever showed up. Nobody was ever there. Okay, guys, so just to avoid...
That's scary.
It's very scary. Very, very scary. Just to avoid hassles and, you know, getting upset and dealing with those stupid things, just make sure that your balance is paid before the date of the event. Now let's talk about the purpose of the deposit. There's a lot of misconceptions out there as to what is the purpose of the deposit. I used to think that the purpose of the deposit was so that I had money to buy my ingredients, buy the stuff that I needed to make the decorations, all of that. That's not at all what the deposit is for. The deposit is to hold the client's spot, to hold the date for them. Now, let's talk about cancellations, and I know that we have a few comments here asking about cancellations, but just very quickly, I want to share with you a story just so that you can see what the purpose of the deposit is.
Why?
Okay?
Why we do it.
Why we do it. So a few years ago, we had a very good client that had ordered many cakes from us for a few years in a row. And she decided to order a Sweet 16 cake for her niece. And she ordered the cake 6 months in advance. It was a pretty large order, so she decided to pay the 1/2 deposit, and she knew the balance would have to be paid, you know, a few weeks before the date of the event. 2 months before the date of the event, she called me up and she said, unfortunately, I have to cancel the order. And I said, oh no, what happened? She told me that her niece ran away with her little boyfriend, and so they finally found her, brought her back, and the punishment was to cancel her entire Sweet 16. So she was telling me the story, you know, and she said, you know, we had to cancel the catering, we had to cancel the hall, we had to cancel the DJ, the dresses, everything. And she said, and you're the last one that I'm calling because we have to cancel the cake. And I told her, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's very unfortunate. And I told her, please let me know if you all decide, you know, to reschedule the Sweet 16 or what's going to happen. You know, we're more than happy to serve you in the future. And when we were getting off the phone, she was like, well, thank you so much for understanding. I said, okay, well, thank you so much. Okay, God bless. But I was about to say goodbye, and she's like, wait a minute. So how do I get my deposit back? Are you going to put it back in my PayPal account, or are you going to send me a check? And I explained to her, I said, no, ma'am. there's no refunds. You're canceling the order. And it was a pretty big order.
Yeah, it was.
And I think it was like a $4,500 order, something like that. So as you can see, the deposit was a substantial amount. So right away she's like, but I don't understand. And remember guys, we had mentioned in a previous video about cancellations. In your invoice, you have to write in there and verbally tell the client, in case of cancellations, there are no refunds. So she said, I don't understand. I mean, I'm canceling 2 months in advance. Why don't I get my deposit back? And I told her, first of all, you paid the invoice. The invoice was your contract. And you already knew that there are no refunds in case of cancellation. I said, second of all, your cake has been booked on our calendar for the last 4 months. Remember, she canceled 2 months before. Your date has been booked with us for 4 months. That's the purpose of the deposit, is to hold the date. And I told her, for 4 months now, many people have been calling wanting that date, and I have been turning down all of those orders because that date was already booked for your cake.
And that's the only cake we were going to work
And
with.
that's the only cake. So let's just say it was like a $2,200 deposit, because I think it was like $4,500 or something like that. I explained to her, if I give you back the deposit, not only am I losing over $2,000, but nothing guarantees me that another client is going to call this late in the game and order a cake for that amount on that date. So not only would you be causing me to lose a deposit, I'm also losing all of that potential business that I had. People asking for that specific date.
That's correct.
So that is the reason why there are no refunds on cancellations. Now again, guys, that's just the way that we do things, and it works out perfectly for us because we rarely have people cancel.
You could say it solidifies the commitment on their
It
part.
solidifies the commitment, exactly. And all of this is established from that very first phone call. When they see and hear your professionalism, they see that you actually have policies that you stick to, and you let them know the deposit has to be paid today. The balance has to be paid on this date or this many days before. You know, I'll send you the invoice a few days before to make sure that you have plenty of time, you know it's coming up. So that's why we rarely have people cancel. The few times that we have had cancellations, we do not give back the deposit for that very reason. So again, guys, as you can see, it has nothing to do with so that you have the money to buy this and buy that and order this and order that. No, that has nothing to do with it. The purpose of the deposit is simply to hold the date, right? Like Seinfeld says, hold
It's
the
holding
date,
the reservation.
right? So anybody can just call and get a quote and say they want to order on this date, but there is no order until you have the money, and that money holds the date. Okay, so hopefully that clears it up for you. Sit down on your own, think about it. When do I want the deposit? When do I want the balance paid? And you need to make sure that you stick to your policies for your peace of mind.
For everyone.
So that you do not struggle and hassle with people. And again, like a little while ago when Stacy said she feels like she's pulling teeth just getting a 10% deposit. A 10% deposit holds nothing. And that person, if all they gave you was 10%, there's no commitment, and they will have no problem whatsoever canceling on you at the last second. Hopefully that helps us understand the true purpose of the deposit. Don't be afraid to stick to your policies. The more you stick to your policies, the more you're going to enjoy your business. Okay, this next awesome question and comment is from Red Hot Sweet Potato.
Whoa!
Very cool name. She says, "You are such a joy to watch. Thank you so much. I'd love to know how you handle possible refunds on cancellations and how far in advance must they cancel?" Okay, so of course we already discussed that we do not ever give refunds on any cancellations. How far in advance can they cancel? They can cancel whenever they want. And that's what I told her in the comment. They are free to cancel whenever they want. They can cancel the very next day, in 2 weeks, a month, 6 months, in a year. No matter when they cancel, we do not ever give refunds. Again, that's our policy. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, that's a little extreme.
That's mean.
That's mean. No. When you have been through as many ridiculous situations as we have been through, and many of you know what we're talking about.
Preach it, girl.
When you've been through so many absurdities when it comes to deposits and cancellations and balances and all of that, we have realized that doing it this way, it works. So if you guys, again, want to not have a stressful business, you want to enjoy your life, no refunds. That's it, no refunds. That's the way we do it. Okay, that's us. And I did mention in the comment to her that although we do not ever offer any refunds of any type, if the reason why the client is calling is just because they have decided to change the date, we're more than happy to work with them. We're not gonna cancel the order on them. If all they wanna do is just simply move it up a few days, move it back a few days, we're more than happy to work with them. If the change in date is extreme, if I have the date available, I'm more than happy to work with them. Okay, so as you can see, we're not so mean. But so like I told her, you know, we're not happy, mean at all. We're not mean at all. We're happy to do that. Okay, I mean, our clients love us, guys. We are professional, so professional. We are polite, well-mannered.
How many times do we get a new client that says, I can't wait, because they've heard so much about us and so much, and then they finally order and they see the professionals and like, I can't wait for the order.
Yeah, and it has to get to the point where you actually enjoy speaking to your clients on the telephone. And you know, 99% of the clients I've never even met in person. Arnie is the one that meets all of them, because as you know, most of everything that we do, all of our orders are done via email or on the telephone. So, you know, he's the one that gets to meet all of the clients.
Nobody gets to see the wizard.
The wizard. He gets to meet all of the clients, and they love him. I mean, he'll show up with the cake. He'll show up with the cake, and they literally sometimes run to him and hug him. You know how many little kids have jumped up on you and hugged you?
My goodness,
just
like a rock star.
Thank you for the cake. It's pretty awesome, huh?
I feel like a rock star.
You start getting chased in the parking lot with a Peter Piper pizza. That's cool. Yeah, I know what that feels like. The first time I ever delivered my Michael Jackson Thriller cake, I had people chasing me in the parking lot. They were even knocking on the window when I was driving off, and I was just like throwing business cards out the window. I'm just playing, but I mean, it was pretty cool. You guys know how awesome that feels, you know, when you show up with the cake and everybody's like, oh my god, oh my god. And just as crappy it feels when people are not thankful and they don't even smile or bother to say thank you or anything.
No, I'm fine.
But again, we digress. So again, the purpose of the deposit is to hold the date. When can they cancel? Whenever they feel like it. Do we give refunds? Never. Not 1 cent, but happy to work with them if all they have to do is change the date. So thank you for your question, Red Hot Sweet Potato. This next awesome question and comment is from Dana Elas.
Hi, Dana.
And she says, you guys rock.
Now imagine long hair flipping up and down again.
Thank you, Dana. We appreciate that. And she says, this series of vids that you two have taken the time out to make has been very informative, helpful, and inspirational. Thanks to you both. You're very, very welcome, Dana.
We have fun doing them too.
I've gained the courage to stop giving away my talent for free and start getting paid my worth.
Well, now she rocks.
That's awesome. Now you rock. She says, I have just one question. What kind of policies do you have in place regarding money back for a cancellation and or a damaged cake after the client picks it up? So lots of little things we can discuss here. Wow. So, you know, she asked about what policies do we have as far as cancellations. We've already talked about that. Okay, we do not give back any refunds whatsoever if anyone cancels. Now, if for some reason we damage the cake or something happens to the cake on the way to the delivery, which has happened.
It happened once.
It happened to me once before I ever met you. My humongous SpongeBob SquarePants just was destroyed.
Your tangle cake?
Oh, the Tangle Tower. That thing just
That's
flopped,
also before I met you.
Yeah.
Well, I met you, but...
Which is why I don't deliver the cakes anymore. And very important to learn about structure to avoid disasters like that.
Right.
So I've had 2 major disasters. That was before I ever met him. Now he handles all of the deliveries. So...
Now she's stress-free.
Now I'm stress-free. So if we damage the cake, then there's lots of things that we can do depending on the severity of the damage. I mean, if the cake is completely destroyed, then of course we're going to give them a full refund and might even think about giving them some sort of a credit in the future to make up for the disaster if they do ever decide to order from us again. And if they don't ever want to order from us again, we don't blame them. We do not at all blame them, because these cakes are expensive. and they're meaningful, and how horrible to ruin somebody's meaningful day because of something that happened on the way.
I'm just glad that it's only happened 3 times.
Yeah. So in a situation like that, of course, we would offer a full refund. Now, if you just simply messed up, like you got the wrong cake flavor, or you misspelled one of the names on the cake or something like that, I do not feel warrants a full refund. A lot of you have dealt with clients that just because there was one little tiny thing wrong with the cake, they want a full refund.
Come on,
that's just a person trying to take advantage, and they're threatening to ruin your reputation, and they're threatening to tell everybody about what a crappy cake artist you are. Don't let any of that scare you. That's just talk. That's just a bulldog barking, but no bite. And the reason I say that is because I have gotten a lot of comments and a lot of questions from cake artists, terrified and just mortified because they made a mistake, and now they're so scared that the client is going to ruin their reputation, is going to just slander them all over Facebook and Instagram. Don't let any of that scare you guys. If you do not feel that your mess up was that big of a deal, do not give them a full refund. Give them back whatever you feel warrants the mistake or the damage.
Right.
Okay, a person demanding a full refund, again, is just a cheap person trying to steal from you.
Can I say this too? If they post that on Facebook and stuff like that, everybody's gonna see that person complain. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. And they probably won't, if they know that person, they won't be surprised that that person is doing that type of thing, and they'll be like,
she's at it again.
Don't even listen to her. There she is on one of her rants again, okay? So, and why do I say this? Because we've been threatened.
Sure.
I'm going to ruin your reputation. I'm going to tell everybody that, how unprofessional you are, and we're never going to order from whatever, lady.
Whatever's clever.
You gotta do.
Trevor.
Do what you got to do, and just get off the phone, brush it off. Don't ever think about it ever again. And guys, how many times have we talked about it? Don't be afraid. Don't have any fear. Don't worry about what people say. Don't worry about their threats. Laugh it off. Okay, laugh it off. Remember, God's going to take care of you, and He's going to take care of your business, and He's going to make sure that the right clients come your way.
And a very important thing to do is just walk in grace yourself. Like if somebody messes up your order at the drive-thru or something, walk in grace there. They make mistakes too.
Yeah, that's a good point, baby. You
reap what you sow.
You reap what you sow. Yeah, if you want people to be graceful to you, then you be graceful to people.
Yeah.
And we make mistakes. As humans, we make mistakes.
Sure.
And don't beat yourself up about it. Don't feel bad about it.
Right.
It's going to happen. And you're never going to get to the point where you never make a mistake. I mean, when you're 6 feet under, then you'll never make a mistake ever again.
You don't have to worry about it anymore.
But in the meantime, guys, very important, of course, to be very, very careful when you're working and creating your invoices, and that you know exactly what the client wants. But when you do mess up, because you will,
own it.
Just, own it, apologize to the client, offer them some sort of a little refund or whatever.
Be professional.
Be professional, and they'll appreciate that. If your client gets angry and furious and insulting and starts using foul language,
I'm sorry you feel that way.
Then I'm sorry you feel that way. I know you're probably never going to order from me ever again, and that's okay. Don't worry about it. As you can see in this business, very, very important to develop a thick skin. You gotta develop a thick skin. So that's the situation if we damage the cake. Now she says, what happens if the client damages a cake after they pick it up? First of all, we never allow clients to pick up cakes. We deliver every single one of our cakes for that very reason. We need to make sure that our cakes arrive in perfect condition.
Absolutely.
Now there are a few rare situations. A few rare situations throughout the year where somebody is traveling into our city to pick up a cake, and they're going to take it back only because they did not want to pay the delivery fees. So we tell them we're more than happy to meet you somewhere, or for you to pick up the cake or whatever, under the stipulation that you understand that if anything happens to the cake, any type of damage whatsoever, once we've given it to you, we are no longer responsible. And of course, they always say yes, of course, because they don't want to pay for the delivery fee.
And that's fine.
So, and that's fine. And so for that reason, we deliver all of our cakes. We never allow clients to pick up the cake. If they damage the cake on their watch, they totally know that that's their deal. So those are our policies. That's what we have chosen to do. Okay, now you all decide for yourself, you know, about your delivery and the risk that comes with allowing clients to pick up and take their own cakes to their own venue. To avoid any of those weird situations or anything bad happening, we have decided to deliver all of our cakes. Again, that's just for our peace of mind. So hopefully that answers the question, Dana. If you guys have any questions whatsoever having to do with deliveries or anything like that, let us know and we'll be sure to include that in a future video. We want to thank everyone for their awesome questions and comments. If there is something that we left out or something that you guys are still not sure about when it comes to deposits, balances, cancellations, refunds, that type of thing, go ahead and post your comment down below. Also, in case you haven't yet, be sure to purchase your Cake Artist Guide. For those of you that have yet to purchase your Cake Artist Guide and have yet to figure out what 1 hour of your time is worth, go ahead and order your guide today. And just a quick reminder, guys, for those of you that still need one-on-one help with learning how to charge correctly for your work and anything else that has to do with the business of cakes, we're now registering for our June 25th cake pricing webinar. We would love to help you and offer you all the help that you need. So be sure to check out those links underneath the video, and we want to thank you again for joining us. And if you have any questions or comments, remember to leave them down below, and we'll see what next week's video is going to be about.
That's right.
All right, guys. We love you. God bless you, and have an awesome week. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.